Okay.
She's not on the list, so I don't know if she wants to speak or not.
Yeah, I'll walk up and, I'm going to ask our district board clerk to please take over with the opportunity to swear in our two new members.
What's that?
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Now, you want to run the elections for president, please?
Yes, I would like to take nominations for school board president.
I'd like to make the motion to nominate Kate Madigan as president.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Anybody else?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Brad Dates as president.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All of those for Kate Madigan? Raise your hand. All of those for Bradford Davis? Who for the board president is Kathleen Matthew.
Can I just stay here?
What's that?
I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah, are we doing the,
You would run for the vice president.
Do you want me to wait? Okay. Okay, thank you. Can I have a nomination for the vice president, please?
I'll nominate Kim Allen.
Thank you. In a second?
Yes.
Guess you can pick whoever you want. I'm just kidding, Mr. Dates. Any other nominations? Okay. Raise your hand, please, if you're voting for Kim Allen for vice president. No, did you say there was another swearing in? No, it's okay, I didn't remember either.
it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
That's what she was asking. If she was-
I can't find any other votes. And I will faithfully discharge the duties of school board president according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
she's not in the reorg, so
So
she's in.
we can keep going?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Is that better? You hear it now? Is that better? Okay. Okay, so since there's a huge list, if we move on to B, other business, I know there were some questions via email about some of these items. So I'll take a motion for anything B 1 through 20 or separate it out altogether.
I'd like to separate out number 20, please.
Anybody else want to pull anything?
I'll agree with Kim.
Just
Everything
20?
1 through 19 and separate 20.
Okay, so you want to make a motion for that?
Yes.
Can you say that one more time?
I would like to pull up number 1 as well.
Okay,
Motion for
So-
2 through 19?
Yep.
2 through 19?
Yes, please.
Any
Second.
other?
Second.
Yes, okay, any other changes to that? So it was Mrs. Allen and a second by Mr. Dates.
And that's 2 through 19, correct?
Yep, so the motion on the floor is B 2 through 19. Any other changes? Okay, so is there any discussion for 2 through 19? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Okay, I'll take a motion for B1, appointment of the clerk of the board, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Dates and Mr. Nodine. Any discussion? Any discussion on that? I didn't know if you were looking for something before. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One. Any abstentions? So 6. Got that? Okay. Okay, moving on, B20. Can I have a motion for establishing the board meeting schedule, please? Thank you, Nancy.
Second.
Thank you, Jolene. Okay, any discussion on this? I think there's been some discussion, so,
I can't attend a lot of these meetings. I can give you the dates.
okay, so does someone want to have any ideas on changes that need to be done, or if we can make some adjustments? Is
I'd
it
like to
timing?
keep the dates, but if moving the time is an option to moving to 7. I'd like to keep it on Wednesdays if everyone's in agreement.
Okay, I won't be able to do all Wednesdays.
Is there a
Such as-
different proposed day of the week that you're,
I could do Tuesdays anytime. Mondays anytime.
With Kim, I like the 7 o'clock, but keeping that Wednesdays.
Does
Because
the,
there's a lot of other things that happen on those other days that are already kind of established.
does the change to 6 to 7 from 6:30 make a difference?
No, just for today it did, but
Right.
I attend executive session at my board meetings. So,
So it looks like, is there a reason other than moving it tonight to 7 to move it to 7 going forward? If it's not going to make a difference for Nancy, would we be good with leaving it at 6:30 on Wednesdays if we aren't looking to change it? Is anybody open to changing it from Wednesdays?
I could do Tuesdays or Wednesdays. That's just my personal schedule.
Me
but-
as well.
Well, how many conflicts are there that 7 would better accommodate you?
so I already had, before I was a board member, I already had scheduled meetings on July 27th and August 17th. And then our regular meetings are September 14th, 12th, 9th, 14th, 18th, March 8th.
So basically half.
Would 7 o'clock accommodate for any of those, or not?
No, because I attend the executive sessions at my meetings.
Okay.
Would it be possible, and I don't know if our policy says something different, on the ones that conflict, are we able to move it to the week before or the week after? Is that a possibility?
I think
You certainly
that,
can, because, I mean, last year they had changed meetings.
I think the reorg meeting is established, and then I think that we need to give notice. And then, I think there are a few items, if I'm correct, that have to be voted on by a certain date, but I don't think it's as particular as a week to week.
So the ones that we know right now before we set the schedule that conflict, we could move them to the week before or the week after and set that as our schedule. Is that correct?
The only negative thing about doing that is that then it makes for like 2 back-to-back weeks possibly for meetings with no
Mhm.
break in between.
Right.
Or 4 weeks between meetings.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
either or.
Well, the only thing is though, if we took, did you say the 17th and the 31st of August?
In September through January only have, in fact, February only have one meeting anyway. So it doesn't leave that you're having back-to-back meetings.
Did you say though the 17th and the
Said
31st?
The 27th and
27th and 17th. I thought you said.
The 27th of July,
Okay. And then the 17th of August?
yes.
So we could potentially move the 17th to the 10th, if that would work.
The 17th of
I
August,
already
you're
have a
saying?
meeting.
Yeah, if we move the 17th to the 10th and we move the July 27th date to the 20th, that would actually give us a 2-week, it would be every other week,
Wait, what are you trying to move July 27th to?
the 20th.
20th.
So it would be every 2 weeks like we are now. Though, I'm just looking for a potential resolution out of a couple of them.
Does the 20th work?
The 24th.
The 20th works. It does not work for you?
For which one?
It doesn't work for me either, the 20th.
I will not be here.
Can,
Okay, so there's,
Stephanie, could you pull your mic over? Because, thank you, and thanks.
I will not be here July 20th.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
What about, what if we could possibly move the conflicts to a Tuesday? What if we could, anybody have any ideas that we could maybe move it to a Thursday, maybe eliminate a meeting?
I don't think we can eliminate September, October, November, December, January, because we
Right.
meet only once per
Once
month.
a- once a
I was
month.
only thinking like the August, yeah.
with the two.
My suggestion is it should say consistent on a day though, because if it's on a different day, 1 week, it'll get confusing.
Yeah,
You know,
Okay.
Also
For the public.
board packets, for public, for
right.
a lot of different reasons.
Okay.
That'll also limit one extra day of review when you get,
Right,
you know.
right, right.
Okay.
What do we have two in August for?
Usually to make sure we have appointments in
For
place.
appointments?
Getting ready for school
Yep.
start, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, could we rotate those? Could we do the 10th and the 24th? Is that potentially a possibility?
Were those both conflicts for you,
I still
Nancy?
can't do the 10th. I can do the 31st.
If you can't do the 10th or the 17th.
Nope.
What if we did the 24th instead of 2 dates? We did one in August and did the 24th.
I really need 2 in August,
Yeah.
just for appointment purposes.
Appointments, yeah.
You run up to a 30-day timeline of people, resigning from their positions, so
Okay.
that's where it.
Okay, what about the 3rd and the 24th?
I will not be here the 3rd.
Nor will I.
24th.
No.
Well, I'm sure we won't find a time when everybody is always.
Right.
So if we could,
31st, because that's one that's not in question, so we should keep the 31st.
Yeah, let's, how about this, we could nip them off one at a time. The very first one, July 27th. Nancy said you can't be there, right?
No.
So, but the 20th doesn't work for you?
No, there are other board members that
Yeah,
it doesn't work
I'm-
for.
I'm just, Nancy, the 20th doesn't work for you?
No.
No, it does.
It does, okay. All right, but it doesn't work for Brian.
Or me.
Or, okay, Steph, okay, so.
Okay, how many dates conflict out of your list total?
From September until March 8th.
Okay,
The ones that only have one a month, could we move those to the week before or week after?
Which is all that
Which would be
entire run from
Yes.
September to March, right?
Yep.
Does that make sense? We have, like with budget and whatnot, is that gonna make
We'd
it
have to adjust
better
some
or
things.
worse?
We'd have to adjust our timelines,
Moving them forward or moving them back, do you think
Either
might
way.
be better?
Anyway,
either way.
'cause a lot
If
of
they
it's
were to
number of
move a
days,
week
yeah.
before or a week after, does that work for you or no?
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
It
does.
does, either
Yeah, 'cause
or.
they only have one meeting a month.
okay.
So it doesn't help?
It does.
It does help?
Yeah, I thought the question was, does it matter? It doesn't matter a week before or a week after.
If we shifted that whole
Okay.
schedule from September to March a week, it
Why
doesn't help
don't-
you or
It
does?
doesn't, it does help.
It does
It
help.
doesn't
Okay,
matter.
why don't we, do you think you could look at your schedule and see which direction the shift would make sense for deadlines for you? And then we could use whichever one works best for you and your team. So that would be starting with September 14th or potentially the week before. And moving through the tentatively scheduled meeting of February 15th.
After March 8th, did you have conflicts as well, Nancy?
I'm fine with January 18th, I apologize. March 8th,
After March 8th,
we only have one a meeting. So March 8th is my meeting,
uh-huh.
April 12th is my meeting, and then I'm fine.
But I can do that. I'm very concerned about establishing the second meeting this month.
No, I'm just saying, if you could look at those, and then we'll work out these other dates to tentatively approve it with the condition that you'll be making adjustments to the other 6 or 7 of them, or however many there are.
So would it be more important, Kate, is what Superintendent just said, to really focus on these summer ones now, and then allow him and his team to look at from September on?
Yeah, I think that's what I just said. Maybe I wasn't clear enough,
So if we get the 10 to
Ah.
these summer ones right now.
Right. Okay, is there a Wednesday for the rest of this month that everyone can make? There's conflict on the 20th and the 27th. I don't know if it really makes sense to meet again next week.
Yeah, 1 week turnarounds are almost impossible for me.
Okay,
I would agree.
I'm good for either.
We should keep it the 27th. if
The
there's
20th is
multiple.
probably better than the 27th,
Yeah.
but Brad,
I'm good for either of those dates.
okay.
So we got to figure out what's good for the
Stephanie?
ones.
I'm not here on the 20th,
All right,
and I think Brian's
Brian's
not
not
here.
here.
Kim?
So it sounds like,
I'm not here the 20th.
so it sounds like the 27th is a need to.
Do we still have the opportunity for people to Skype in or no? Or Zoom or whatever?
You can determine to do that, but you still have to make it a
Right,
open meeting.
okay.
But,
Okay.
but Nancy, it won't
I'll
work.
call in on the 27th. I will give my address. We'll be at the Lake House in Canandaigua at an administrative retreat. But I'll invite my crew in to watch as well.
All right, so let's keep July 27th on the calendar. And then the 17th and the 17th and the 31st of August.
did we say that the 10th worked?
No.
10th of,
Could we do the 10th and the 24th of August?
Well, the 31st doesn't need to be changed. The 31st is okay, right?
Yeah.
For you, Nancy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Just
Okay.
August 17th.
Okay, could we bump that up no, that, we can't bump it up a week, that does the same thing.
Yeah, it kind of looks like they're going to have to stay. I don't see where,
The 10th is better for me, actually, if we
unless
wanted
we
to
would
move
go
it.
to the 3rd.
If we do August 10th at 7, I can do that.
I would be okay with that.
I would be okay with that.
Did you do
If my
August
flight's
10th?
not canceled, I'll be here.
What's that?
Said if my flight's not canceled, I'll be here.
So August 10th?
Might be close.
Okay.
You never know.
I know I will be away, but that's,
On the 10th?
yeah, I've already got a trip planned, so I'll be gone.
All right, well, then the 3rd gives us a 1 week, though.
It doesn't give us 1 week because we're keeping, oh no, you're right.
The 10th was
I mean-
fine, Brad.
If it went to
Huh?
the
The 10th
3rd,
was hard
it
for
would
you?
be 1
Yeah,
week.
10th was good. I know I'm away, so, but I'm only one person on that, so.
Yeah, it's either you on the 10th or Nancy on the 17th, so it's 1 and 1.
Appreciate that. So you made the comment about 7, are we moving to 7 in general?
No, only if you were doing the August 10th.
So 6:30 is, I just mean everybody, is 7 a
think-
better time?
I think we said 6:30 stays.
Sit can say, okay,
I like 6:30.
okay,
But you're gonna have one meeting at 7 and the rest at 6:30?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Mm.
so
Be
10.
advertised that way.
Okay.
I don't know if
So-
we moved to the 20th.
So,
we're gonna keep the 27th. August 17th, we'll move to August 10th at 7 PM. We keep August 31st. We're gonna wait for information from the superintendent for meetings September through March 8th. Is that accurate?
correct.
Okay.
Except for January 8th is okay to keep.
And February 15th is okay too, right?
No, not
That's
February
not okay.
15th.
January 18th, you mean?
January 18th is fine.
Okay. So with the exception of January 18th,
Okay.
and then I'm assuming that we'll accept March 8th through June 7th as is on the list?
February 15th is also fine. I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna change that for
January
September.
18th and February 15th are A-okay.
Okay, so just September through December meetings, please.
Okay, those 4.
Okay, so we're actually going to approve January 18th through June 7th. Any conflict with the rest of those?
Good with those.
March 8th
Okay. March 8th is okay.
and April 12th.
What? What'd you say? I'm sorry.
And April 12th.
So between January 18th and June 7th, the only conflicts you have are March 8th and April 12th? to
Yes.
clarify?
Okay, I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
March 8th.
And April 12th.
Okay.
Okay, so right now, who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Big kid, didn't you? Or Brian
I
and-
feel like it was an hour and a half.
Nancy,
I think it was
I
I think
did.
you made the motion,
Yeah? Okay.
and I seconded.
Ladies, could we possibly amend your motion to accept,
Yes, please,
okay,
with changes.
July 27th, August 10th at 7 PM, August 31st? We could leave the calendar at this point for the next meeting to approve with recommendations from the superintendent.
And on the 27th, we understand that I'll be,
Zooming or Skyping or whatever
Something in.
the version
Mhm.
may be. I'm assuming that you can give her information for that. Okay. Okay, so yes, in a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, check. Okay, C designations, I would make the same comment. I know there was a lot of conversation about some of these with questions. So I would take a motion for anything C 1 through 7, separated out.
Yes. Motion for 1 through 7?
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Uh,
Mr. Date. You're good. Was there an 8? I don't have an 8.
Yeah. There's nothing established on there. It was the non-resident tuition originally. It's not there.
Okay, so I'm only, okay,
1 through 7 is correct.
okay.
Which ones do we need?
No, no, that's fine.
It's a C 1 through 7, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Could I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Keiler. Who's Mr. Dates? No problem. Okay, any questions? Clarifications? I think there was some discussion. Did everybody get their questions answered?
Yeah, we're gonna update the mileage rate for up until January.
The mileage rate says federal on it, as federal
So just do
guidelines.
the federal IRS rate?
Yeah. Yep. So if the federal rate adjusts, it'll adjust with it.
Other questions?
Fluid.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Yes, thank you. All right, moving on, D, authorizations. Same speech. Take a motion for D 1 through 13 or any modifications to it. Mrs. Allen?
Second.
All of them? Okay. Mr. Dates, thank you. Questions?
Yes, for the budget transfers, for the interfund transfers with the limits, I would like, no matter what the amount is, for the board to be able to see what those transfers were within the month.
So just for clarification, are you referring to D1B or
and
A
B?
and B?
A and B.
Okay.
Are you asking for the specifics of the transfer?
It's a printout from whatever occurred that month.
Right, so it would give the specifics as to A to B, whatever transfer amount.
Yeah, you typically give a reason, transfer due to whatever.
So would that just be a reporting piece?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I thought.
So could we possibly
Grant authorization.
amend the resolution to state that that's included? Or how does that, is that just,
We'll just provide a report.
Are budget transfers provided to the board currently? So anything over 20,000, do you, within the month? Okay, and if they're under, they don't come to the board at all?
Between 19,990.
Right. Is it possible to have, I mean, I know it's possible, but could we get, for informational purposes, budget transfers monthly under the 20,000?
That's what Nancy just asked for. We can,
Thanks.
we can provide a report for that. That's no problem.
okay, so we could,
It'll be a month lag.
Yeah,
So you'll make the transfers in, April, and then you'll see the report in May.
so this would just be added to like warrants and that kind of thing in that
Yeah, we
section?
can just do it in a financial report.
Okay.
It's not a problem.
Everyone all right with that?
Sure.
just for clarification, you want also any transfers, say if the general fund is lending money to the federal fund, you want that kind of,
The due to do rums?
yeah, that kind of detail as well, or just in between budget accounts?
No, I don't need to know
Okay,
the due to do rums.
okay.
I guess the question is,
Those get
I
paid
mean,
back.
Yes.
those reports can be printed, it's then, I guess, as a board, this is important information for us to know.
Yes.
Are you asking if
Yes,
this is
it is.
important?
Yeah, I mean, that is posed as a question. If this is important information for us even though we've had traditionally, given the opportunity, that says, anything over 20,000, they report, anything under, if there's a small transfer of something that needs to happen, just internal business. So we're gonna know of any internal business of transfer, even if it's $500.
Correct, that's what I'm asking for.
That's right, yeah, so I'm trying to grasp the importance of us to know those things, know that.
Well, we all have a fiduciary responsibility,
Right,
so it is important that we know what's being transferred for budgetary purposes.
yeah, but it seems to be getting down to the micro level in terms of seeing that, because audits have all those reports. When you get those, the review of audits will already have done that, my understanding, right?
There are mistakes that occur during the audits as well, but we also, as I just said, have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers. And this isn't something that we're asking anybody to take 10 minutes out of their day extra. This is a hit print and
Right.
include with the packet.
No, I understand it's that easy. I'm just trying to grasp, with the amount of information that we
I think
get.
$20,000 is a lot of money. I think $50,000 is a lot of money. And I think that it's our responsibility to review those.
Okay, just asking the question.
So why don't we, it sounds like it's a relatively quick process. Why don't we include it in the next packet and see if it works, if it's helpful for us and it increases transparency as far as what's being moved. If we find that it's completely not necessary and it's not really helpful, then we can always disregard it or remove it. Does that sound fair?
I don't think you'll have many in July.
So it might not be a good month to-
All right, so let's give it a couple meetings then.
Well, we haven't, what was the last budget transfers that we received? We haven't received
None.
June's.
You haven't received any,
We did receive some, my first,
Not for the
not under 20.
not for the 20,000.
oh, under 20, yeah, no. Right. Yes, yes.
I mean, Kate's rationale absolutely makes sense. I think it's gonna be a strange month
Okay.
to adjust that, or to look at that. I mean, we can certainly provide it, that's not an issue, you just might not see anything.
Okay, so we'll run it until we get
Right.
something.
Can-
That
So you
sound
have
right?
some data, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For informational purposes, once the audit's done, can we get budget transfers for June? Because I think that's a really important one.
Okay. Other questions? So we're discussing D1 through 13. Anything outside of 1A and B?
So for D3, the authorization for tax roll preparation, that, we still come together in August and approve the tax levy. So can you give me a little bit of information of what this resolution really is for?
So we're on D3.
What this does is it gives the superintendent authorization to prepare the warrant that they need to approve at August meeting. Or it doesn't, usually the tax collector is the one that prepares the warrant.
We don't approve that in August?
No, you do, but you're authorizing the superintendent to put it together, so you can go ahead, you have to.
We're giving the tax roll preparation authorization right now.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not used to that kind of,
We
I
have
mean,
to
that's part of business.
authorize him to do the business at this point in time,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
You're right, that's just part of normal business management at that point. It's always been historically a resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's, I'm just not used to that.
There's some things that are different here than where I was previously as well, that I kind of said, well, that's unique to this position, but it's just something that we continued on with. That's, falls in that category, I guess. You can't function in your tax role without having that authority. Right?
Right.
Okay. Other questions? All right. All in favor for D1 through 13?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Done? Good. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the appointment of the board committees. Stephanie, you have to go on all of them. Just kidding.
Right.
Okay, so before we start, my only suggestion would be that we have 2 units that are still under negotiations. I would say that the current members should stay on those committees. Is there any objection to that? Okay, so let's start with those. So RCTA now needs 2 replacements, but I think Jolene has already been
Yes.
sitting for that. Mr. Dates, I assume you're okay to stay?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Nodine, can we leave you as the alternate at this point?
I would be okay with being the alternate.
Thank you. Is anyone volunteering to sit on this committee?
Is this the CT?
RCTA, so it's gonna be your second row all the way to the right.
Oh, flip over a page, Julie. Flip one more page. You should have a chart.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm on the second page. I just write right over
Then you
people's
just write
names.
in the new
I was
boxes.
just looking at that page with all the lines.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
You have to
don't
actually hold it like this.
understand what's happening there. Okay.
Okay, so, Mrs. Allen's volunteering to join unless somebody else would like to.
Which one you in?
We're on teachers, or CTA.
Jolie replaced Mrs. Cook already.
Right. So she'll be the third, and Mr. Nodine will stay as the alternate.
Kim, you're gonna be on
Alan?
So RCTA is all
Unless anyone
covered.
else wants to.
Is that what?
Kim
Okay.
just volunteered.
Okay.
Okay, so, then let's switch over to CSEA. So, Mr. Curtis needs to be replaced. He volunteers.
Well, are
Stegman?
the rest of us all gonna stay on
Hold
there?
on, before we go there, is Brad staying as chair of RCTA? We didn't talk about
Yeah,
that? Okay.
Unless you,
I would assume so, because you're already underway with
okay.
negotiations.
that's
Got
what
it.
I would say.
Got it.
Brad, you can move up to the chair of CSEA, or I can, it's up to you.
Well, I'll do that since I've been paid the meetings there and seeing where we're at. And you got, I think, did you get the email today?
She probably didn't, we'll talk. in
Oh,
a second.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, just,
Okay, so,
sorry.
Mr. Dates will move to the chair of the CSEA negotiations. Are you okay staying alternate at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anyone that would like to be in that,
The CSEA?
the CSEA group?
So does Kim move up, or,
No, she's gonna stay as the
I'd
alternate at
rather
this
stay
point.
as alternate on this
okay,
one.
I can sit on the CSEA,
Okay,
if that's the will of the board.
it's totally fine. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, let's start at the top then. So,
So, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, yeah, no, you're fine.
For those of us that are newer, as we go through, is it possible to get just a little idea of what these committees do, like what they cover?
yeah, I'm actually gonna talk about that, so,
Yay.
and how exciting it is. We'll start with policy, my favorite.
How riveting.
So, correct me if I'm wrong on my memory, but I believe that the policy committee should be removing our policy book, reviewing our policy book this coming year. So is it every 3 years?
It should be this year.
Okay. So, who would like some extra meetings? Because that's what would be involved with a policy. So I think, like I said, every 3 years, the policy book is reviewed. I want to say several years ago now, Kyle kind of spearheaded doing quite a review of it. But I think this is more of a maintenance, but it does need to be done. So,
Do
looking,
we- do
go
we
ahead.
subscribe to the Erie One
Yes.
service?
We do, yeah.
So, forgive me, don't they already provide, the updates monthly,
Yes.
but we still,
So,
this is a whole still annual, even though,
no, so it's like every 3 years, and we decided to do this several years ago, just simply to stay familiar with things. Like, not that much changes a lot, but we have had, at least in my time on the board, a lot of review of the residency policy and some specific ones, but it's usually just a refresher for board members. And then the policy committee would come back to talk about it. It's kind of based on what the group feels is necessary, but it has been a every 3-year thing.
Kim, you gonna stay on
Yeah, I
this?
would like to stay as chair if.
Yeah,
if
I'll,
that's all right.
I'll work with her on that if you want.
Okay, anyone else interested?
do you meet at night for this one, or do you just get a packet and review them at home, or how, and then you come together?
It's really been up to the discretion of the group. So, at some points, I know that they were meeting actually in the DO for meetings. I know that sometimes it was phone conversations, so it's really just up to the group.
If you need a third person, I can,
Okay? Is anyone else interested?
anybody.
I could do it.
You want to do it instead of Nancy, or you guys can duke it out?
No, if
So
there's,
it's-
no, that's fine, Nancy can do that.
Okay.
It's fine.
not gonna fight her
You had
for
said any more, anyone else.
Okay, we'll put Mrs. Dingman on there then.
So it's Kim, Brad, Nancy?
Correct.
Okay.
So the audit committee, the chair is typically the board president, and then, but it's all the members, so that's everybody.
Easy one, check, done.
That's, check. Okay, finance and budget. Just really quick on some of these committees, we really didn't meet very much, last year, and probably the last couple years before that because of COVID. So I think it might be important, and we can have this discussion as a group later about maybe what we want to see from our committees and what we hope to do, and try to make sure that we're being active participants in it. So finance and budget, to be honest, I couldn't even tell you really what they do because I'm not sure. So maybe whoever sits on this group can explain it to me too. Right now, Mr. Dates, you're the chair. Would you like to stay there?
Yeah, I think it really is kind of just looking at the procedural mechanics of the budget design.
Okay,
The
perfect.
budget formatting design, because there is a format that has to happen at certain steps. So on the budget side of it, and then from the finance side, I guess it's really, understanding, like I mentioned, audits and knowing that those audits are occurring at intervals that will give us feedback of information of where we stand financially, and we can help us to assess whether we're meeting our,
Oh, well, good.
our responsibility to the community as to what we're doing from a financial standpoint.
Okay.
So
Well, that'll be good because
that's
we can
a-
always use more
that's
information on that.
Your
So.
Reader's Digest explanation.
So we do need a replacement for Mr. Utes.
I can do it.
Thank
Is
you,
that
Jolene.
Jolene?
Okay. Energy and facilities. Mr. Nodine, you're still the chair of that group. Would you like to stay there?
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Bliss, you kind of stepped into all of Mrs. Cook's positions, but I'm assuming that this didn't meet. I don't mind writing your name down if you.
I don't really know a lot. What do they do? What does that committee do?
Mr. Nodine, if you'd like to weigh in on that.
Well, not a lot since I've been on it.
Oh, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Put my name down.
My intention would be to kind of follow up on some of the systems that we have and see where we're at as far as some goals that we had when we put systems in place, things like that. I'd like to see a little more reporting on it personally.
So if I can get a team member that wants to explore that with me and get all geeky with it, that's probably what we're gonna be doing.
Okay.
So is it in conjunction with, would you meet with the architects, because those are the ones that actually design or?
If
It
there
might
was a
not-
capital project going on.
It would
yeah.
probably have
Right.
more to do with like just the operations wise, I would think we would be talking with maybe
I
Pat
think
Davenport.
the last capital project, Mr. Utes was really involved with that I remember. He was coming in for architect meetings and things like that during that time. I don't know if that,
Strong background. in it.
yeah.
Are you looking at more like meeting with, say, Pat Davenport and kind
That's
of
what I'm
at that
guessing.
level? Yeah.
Obviously, we would be working with Dr. Corey
Yes.
in conjunction with that to set those things up and make those happen. I was
Okay.
sort of thinking over the summer might be a good time to be able to look at some of that, but I don't know how busy everyone is.
Right.
So we can talk.
I can fill her shoes, that's fine.
Okay. Anybody else?
I haven't volunteered for anything, so put me down.
Okay.
Waiting for
Jump
something
on
good.
Ed.
Okay, so transportation. The chair is currently Mr. Nodine, and Mrs. Allen is on there, and we'll be looking for a replacement for Mr. Utes.
Brian, do you want to stay chair, or I can switch with you, or what do you want to do?
I would switch with you if you want to do that.
It's totally up to you.
Let's go for it.
All right.
Mix it
Okay.
up.
So we'll
Switch-
move the chair to
switching.
Mrs. Allen. Would you like to stay on the committee, though?
Yes, please.
Okay. We just need a replacement for Mr. Utes.
I can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Steph?
So Mrs. Kaiser will take Mr. Utes' spot, and the chair would move to Mrs. Allen. Mr. Nodine still. Yep. No problem. All right, so we're gonna skip over the next two. RCAA, I think that,
I don't know why we have.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think I was the chair on that committee, if
You
I
were.
remember
You were.
correctly.
Yes, you
Okay.
were.
Kyle and I share a
It's
name now.
actually Kate.
I'd like to stay on there as the chair. Mr. Nodine, would you like to stay?
Yes.
Okay. And can you stay as alternate? Okay. So we just need a replacement for Mr. Utes, so that would be the,
You'll think about
I can
this.
do it if somebody
What,
doesn't
it
want
just dawned on me. When we have 4 people, if you actually meet as 4 people for some reason, you got a quorum.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Well,
Okay,
that's
that
why-
never happens.
Right, that's why you have an alternate.
That's why you have an alternate. Make sure the alternate stays home.
That's right.
Right.
That's why Kim signed up.
If I can stay home.
That's right. Mrs. Dingman, are you volunteering for that?
I will volunteer for that.
Okay.
Who's that?
So we're gonna, so everything
Nancy.
stays the same except for Utes is replaced by Dingman. Good, okay. BOCES,
Stay there.
gentlemen,
What does that committee do?
so it's actually just the BOCES rep, it's not an actual committee.
Right.
So if there's
Wayne
interaction.
Finger Lakes doesn't have, we don't have somebody set on the Wayne Finger Lakes board from here? Not from,
Not currently.
Not
We do not.
currently. Just had elections, new people on there.
Something we could definitely discuss.
Dr. Corey, how does that, for Wayne Finger Lakes, how does that work with all the component districts?
Yeah, so they actually get nominations from school boards, and then it's voted on that way. So I assume where you are, it's probably one from each school?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for Wayne County. So there's a
Wayne- it's
nomination,
Wayne
too many
Finger Lakes.
too many districts, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like it's a lot of meetings.
There's not a lot of, I didn't hear that, but there's not a lot of response.
Doesn't sound like there's a lot of meetings.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
But there may be an event.
There's
something
events,
that
yeah.
they host that is open to people to come, so then we would go
As a
and report
representative.
back.
Okay.
Gentlemen?
Brad and I just attended one not too long ago.
Right.
Is that something you're very interested in, Nancy?
No, I just didn't know the process, that's all I was asking. That would've made tic-tac-toe though, so.
You guys interested in staying in those roles, or?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, rural schools,
And what is that one?
so same type of thing, if I'm correct, right, for RSA, is that accurate? So it would be a representation instead of a committee group. So, again, Mrs. Bliss, Mrs. Cook's name is on there if you'd either like to be the alternate or the rep, or two new
Oh, right.
people.
They meet maybe once or twice
Yeah,
a year.
it's
Right.
very infrequent.
Very infrequent, yeah.
There are other events
Yeah.
that do take place that you could participate in.
This one this week at Otisada.
I'm not like on any committees, so I'll take the rep. How about that if you take the alternate?
Sounds good,
Okay.
because there's a couple other I would like to be on.
Okay, Community Center Board. So, obviously, Mr. Curtis, we need to replace as alternate one. These tend to kind of roll from year to year, so, yes, Mrs.
Yeah, I would
Bliss.
like to be on that.
You would like to be the
I'll
rep?
be, no, I can be the alternate, that's fine.
Brad,
Okay.
do you still want to be the rep?
Sure, I've been working with those people for a long time.
As long,
So does
as
the
long as
alternate?
And
oh,
you-
can I be the rep
And-
one?
and-
Or the
What's that?
alternate one?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
So
hear you.
if the rep isn't available, is that when the alternate
Correct.
comes
Yes.
in, or?
So typically, it's been the rep's responsibility to just contact
Right.
the alternates and see if someone can step in their
Okay.
place.
Okay.
When I had a ball game, Larry would fill in, or Kim.
No,
That's-
there's not a difference.
That's pretty much up to the rep, so I would guess whoever answers their phone.
First come, first serve.
Or who doesn't, I guess.
Speed dial, where are you on the speed dial?
That's right. Okay, moving on to the NISBA rep. Brad, I feel like that you didn't step in for that when Sue left? Or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I thought we did, but I haven't got.
I think he
any-
did, but he was in the role of
Just
the board president as well.
informally, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha, okay,
You should be the rep for that, I'm thinking.
okay. I'll take that one. Can I have an alternate, though, please?
I'll be your alternate.
Perfect. Okay. Jolene, that wasn't on your list, was it?
No, at first it was, and then I was like, wait, no, I don't want that.
Just made me feel really great about decision there. Okay, any other questions about committees? So it's kind of a long meeting tonight, so maybe this could be a conversation moving forward of, again, what we expect from the committees, what our plan is moving through the school year, maybe some goals individually of what we want to do. Does that sound all right?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Are we gonna get an updated chart after?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Doesn't
tip-
work?
Your scribbles, you know.
Doesn't work? I don't know what the problem is.
So for anybody new, usually we get a new copy, and if you keep any items that you want to keep on the left-hand side of your folder when it gets turned in the evening, it'll be kept. Right-hand side gets thrown out, so usually we'll get a new one, and it'll be on the left-hand side of the folder.
I got it right here. I got it.
No, I mean, like, we'll get a copy, and then
so.
you can put it in there.
It's in my pile.
Oh, okay, well, perfect, so we'll get a new one.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions before we move on? I don't think we technically need to close and then restart, do we?
You want to hand that over? She should have that.
This report?
Have that.
I would,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so seeing that there's nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen and Mrs. Dingman. Okay, let's just take a couple of minutes and we'll get ourselves reconfigured for the next one. Sound all right?
Sounds good.
Somebody wants to talk.
7:50.
Giving it to me. Somebody wants to talk.
Well,
Or hand it to me, just, you know.
There used to be one side was
7:56.
Yeah, 7:56.
5:32.
5:32.
there's nothing on the left side.
Okay, so let's switch over here.
So that, I know Kate, and then she had, I think that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Oh, I broke my pen.
take out
Do you want us to do the pledge
some of
again?
this carryover stuff.
Okay. No. Good enough. Skip it then.
Oh, yeah. No, yes, yes, sure.
Hey, Brian. You made the comment, that we were moving to Google Docs.
It's not
Will
just
that, this then
functionality.
be up there so I don't have to read it?
Yeah, Yeah.
Once we make the shift.
Okay.
it's everything.
We're not there yet.
So this definitely,
I know.
definitely should have changed since 2014.
Give them another minute or whatever they're doing.
It's not bad. Yeah. It looks like they're broken down by building in there already, so there shouldn't be too bad. Alrighty.
You guys all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's get started. Seeing that there's no one for public forum, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. B1, the regular meeting of June 8th, 2022, and B2, the special meeting of June 15th, 2022. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you,
Yep.
Mrs. Dingman. Second by Mr. Dates. Make sure you're on your revised copy so that the changes have been made that we're approving.
I wanted,
And any questions?
I just need to double check really quick,
Okay.
because I don't remember seeing,
Kim,
yes.
Yes?
D, unfinished business, we'll do the curriculum update.
Okay. Thank you.
Fall coaches. Okay, yes,
I haven't
I'm
asked for
good.
a motion yet.
No questions.
Oh, no, it should be 1 and 2. Yes, I'm sorry. No questions?
Nope.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please. Okay, moving on, financial reports. So this is C1, the treasurer's report of April 2022. C2, the warrants of April 2022. And C3, internal claims auditor report for quarter ending June 30th, 2022. Could I have a motion for all three? Thank you, Mrs. Allen, and a second. Thank you, Mrs. Bliss. Any questions on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay.
All right. Mrs. Hay.
Good evening. Tonight I'm going to give you an update based on some data that I had put in my board report on the journey that we've taken so far with our curriculum. The process that we followed, Dr. Corey was hired in January of 2019. I came on board February 25th of 2019, and immediately we began a data review. From the 2017-2018 state assessments, we noted that there was a shortfall. Less than 50% of our students were proficient on state assessments in both the ELA and math exams, grades 3 through 8. We also noted in our current screening, our FastBridge data, the benchmarking that we do 3 times a year, we also noted that over half of our students were not proficient in those 2 subjects. And then in the fall of 2019, of course, we get the 2019 results demonstrating the same thing. So we came to the realization that we needed to improve our Tier 1 instruction. We cannot remediate over 50% of our students at Tiers 2 and 3. To explain tiers, Tier 1 is classroom instruction for all. Tier 2 is small group out of the classroom with a specialized teacher. Tier 3 is individualized instruction with a specialized teacher. We knew we needed to create systemic change, and we had to decide where to start. So we decided to start with literacy, being that everything that students do and the rest of their life, they're going to need to be able to read and comprehend information. So we began work on forming a literacy committee. That spring of 2019, we did our planning. We contracted with a literacy expert to lead the work, and we formulated a committee. Our first meeting took place in the summer of 2019. There were members from all grade levels, UPK through 12. All employees were invited to attend. The committee assembled of teachers and administrators along with that outside expert. After our summer meeting, we held monthly meetings. We came up with a plan. The 2019-20 school year was about building capacity. It was about sharing research on the science of reading and increasing our knowledge of basic skills instruction. Right away, we began to do some basic skill instruction, 15 minutes per day at the elementary level that was required. It was a non-negotiable. We allotted each grade level 5 curriculum days so that they could work on curriculum planning. And of course, elementary teachers still had common planning time daily. The committee established core beliefs. We believed that we needed explicit, direct instruction on the foundational skills of reading. We knew we needed to use highly rated curriculum materials, as per ed reports. We needed to establish a structure that supported using data. We knew we needed to establish a 90-minute literacy block. We needed all students to have AIS time K through 6, whether it was for remediation or whether it was to further advance them. And we needed to establish must-do practices, non-negotiables. In that 1920 school year, we pilot tested DIBELS, small amounts with specific students. We looked at getting a new platform for universal screening, so we looked at STAR Renaissance. We started to utilize data to drive instruction. We did a letters training pilot. We had 8 of our employees trained in letters, which is all around the science of reading and how to teach reading. We established a procedure for choosing curriculum resources, and we focused UPK through 2 for the next school year, knowing that we needed to really implement a foundational level. Keep in mind that in March of 2020, COVID hits, and we all entered survival mode. We did keep meeting as a committee via Zoom. Along comes the 2021 school year. We adapted some required skill work, UPK through 2, specifically in phonemic awareness, specifically in Haggerty. Our schedule supported our literacy instruction. We established that 90-minute block. Our schedule also supported, at the same time, daily community circles, UPK through 12, so that we could address our social emotional needs of our students. We adapted STAR Renaissance, has our universal screener 3 times a year. We tested DIBELS in 2 grade levels, kindergarten and 5th grade. We developed strong instructional plans that established the must-dos. The must-dos created a consistency so that all 2nd grade teachers were practicing the same instructional practices. It was required instruction. It was non-negotiable. Keep in mind that this school year was a hybrid school year for our grades 7 through 12 and reduced hours for our UPK through grade 6, as well as having some students on total remote instruction. Current school year. All staff gets trained on letters. All elementary staff, speech, special ed, and reading staff. We continued our daily phonemic awareness instruction through Haggerty. We added a phonics instructional piece through a program called Really Great Reading. We used DIBELS for our universal screening tool, K through 5. We used STAR Renaissance for our literacy instruction. We used UPK through 2 for our Again, we established that 90-minute literacy block with the must-dos. All students K through 6 have additional AIS time. We established data protocols to drive instruction. And again, our schedule still supports daily community circles, UPK through 12. We also tried to implement a seminar, grades 6 through 12, which didn't go how it was planned. So we had to adapt that midway through the year. We also did a small pilot using a program called IXL, which again, we're going to be using the next school year, has a universal screener because it gives us more detailed data, more similar to DIBELS, a lot more detail than the Fast Bridge program, which has traditionally been used here since I walked in the door. So looking at the data of this year. So I want to remind you that UPK through 2, we had a solid literacy intervention strategies implemented. I also want to point out mid-year grade 5 team came together and we met and we implemented phonemic awareness interventions as a tier 1 practice called Haggerty extensions. So if you look at the data and you compare fall to spring, you will see that kindergarten had a 34% increase in performance. First grade had a 25% increase in performance. Second grade had a 25% increase in performance. Third grade, a 2% increase. Fourth grade, a negative. Fifth grade, a 20% increase. So anywhere where we were very strategic and planned out and required teachers to use programming based on the science of reading, I think we saw some great student performance. The places that we didn't do that, not so much success.
I think it's important to point out that, I think it's important to also point out that that tier 1 intervention is really what the classroom teacher is doing, right? So that's not an additional staff member taking on some kind of intervention for a student. That's a teacher changing their practice to meet the needs of the student based on the data that they have in front of them. So I think that's just important to point that out.
Thank you, Dr. Corey. So looking at the FastBridge data, which I did not include because it's in your report, it shows a true need for tier 1 instructional improvements, math all the way through, and ELA in grades 6 and above. Again, we cannot remediate over 50% of our students in tiers 2 and 3. We need to make systemic improvements in what we do in our classrooms for all students, just like we did UPK through 2. So how are we going to do that is the next question. So we did our strategic planning. Out of our strategic planning, we realized a need for program evaluations. We're starting program evaluations this summer for both ELA and math, the 2 big areas. We currently have 11 teachers and administrators signed up for each program evaluation. I will also be doing some inside recruiting to try to get a few more on board. We're going to use data to drive our programming. We're going to be using IXL. We can still use FastBridge for people that like FastBridge, but the use of IXL is going to be required, non-negotiable, so that we can get individual, really drilled down data for individualized students to see what they need to improve on. Also see what they're really good at. We are going to continue our professional development around that science of reading, around the foundations of math. We've hired a BOCES coach. Last year we had a ELA coach through BOCES and a math coach. We're going to be doing that again this year, and we've increased the number of days that they will be in district so that not only can they work with UPK through 2, but they can cover UPK through grade 12. We're going to continue to work on a response to intervention plan. So basically that spells out for us if a student scores this score on the benchmark, what do we do from there? Do we need some further diagnostic data on them? Do we have enough diagnostic data? I'm so excited. We'll be introducing a new school tool dashboard this year where we will have a lot more data right at our fingertips about all of our students. It's data on attendance, testing, SEL stuff, all rolled into one platform so that we don't have to look at multiple platforms to really strategically help our students as individuals.
And that's really part of bringing that whole systemic process to your education program, right? So that everything is all in one place and you can really diagnose what's going on with individual students.
We need to establish goals. We want 90% of our students to read at grade level by grade 5. And we really need to focus on systemic instructional planning for Tier 1. And that will come out of those program evaluations for both ELA and math. And that work starts this summer, but it's all mapped out, and we meet monthly. And then we have a few days where we actually take a full half day to really disaggregate some data and look at those dashboards and look at those new tools that we will be using, such as IXL. Anyone have any questions?
What's your timeline for having students be 90% proficient, or 90% of our students be proficient at grade 5?
Well, I'm hoping that will be our current kindergarten class, being that they're in their second year of this.
And so what do you really think that you're putting in place for every student, kindergarten forward, that's
So-
truly going to help them?
Yep. What we've seen is the phonemic awareness, that science of reading, really building that foundation, UPK through 2. We've totally changed how we're teaching literacy instruction, UPK through 2. So how do we remediate students that are already past that point? We use the tools like the Haggerty extension, which is, even though I'm in 6th grade, when I take some of those tests, I may still have a deficit in phonemic awareness. So then we have tools and strategies to catch those students up there.
How are you identifying that?
On the DIBELS data or the IXL, or something called the PASS test. Again, that's that response to intervention plan, depending on what you score on those universal screeners, depends on what we do next.
And those assessments are done at every grade level? Up
Those
through 12?
assessments will be done at every grade level, yep. We're changing how we do assessments. Last year, 6 through 8, we used FastBridge, and we'll be, we can still use FastBridge for a teacher that likes that, but we'll be switching over to the IXL, which will give us some more drill down. And then if they score poorly on IXL and we need more diagnostic information, we can DIBELS even at that grade level, or you do something called a PAST assessment, which really drills down very specific skills that the student needs some extra help in.
Can I
Inez,
just,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, so when you have on here professional development, I think it's crucial that when you're planning the professional development, make sure you're planning in time for those teachers who are using things like IXL, Star Renaissance, you know, the past, all of that. They need to know how to interpret that data. They need to
Yeah.
be able to see where
So
the
we
data,
had-
because those reports are
Yep.
difficult.
We had our first IXL training right at the end of the year,
Okay.
and it was recorded and will get pushed out to all our teachers so that they could view it over the summer. And we have a October conference day session already scheduled with IXL to review that fall data with teachers.
Okay.
And when are the assessments done?
3 times a year,
So fall,
from the
mid-year.
first week of September to the second week.
Okay.
And then we do the second round in February and then the last round in May.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you seem very passionate about this, and I appreciate that. But this is the most disturbing thing that I've received in a long time. It's very upsetting to know that most of our kids aren't at their current grade reading level.
Yeah, I do want to tell you that we still are performing above New York State
That's not acceptable.
I agree.
Just because you're better than New York.
I totally agree.
is
That's why I'm here to
six-
fix things. That's my whole passion is, gosh, kids need to know how to read. And that's what we're working towards. I mean, if there was a magic wand, it would have been waved everywhere in every state across the country.
But not every school is having difficulties that has data like this.
Oh,
Not every district has data like this.
okay.
Can I ask a question to something that you just said? And maybe if we could get a copy of this too. I do better when I can flip back and forth. So it could have been on another slide and I just missed it. Do one of these slides, did that show what percentage we have behind grade level at this point
It's more than 50%,
for every grade level?
correct. Except
Okay.
maybe one.
Okay, so
54% of your first, 22% of your second, 54% of your third, 63% of your fourth, and 49% of your fifth. That's just in the elementary.
okay, thank you. And then I guess my next question is, and this is probably just me being ignorant to education plans, but why is our goal 90%? Why? Yeah, why isn't our goal 100?
Some students just have disabilities that are so severe that they may not
So
reach that.
When you
So-
make a goal, you want to make sure it can be obtainable, and in reality, 100% is not going to be obtainable.
Okay, so what we're saying is we're including every student, not students that we feel can attain
Correct.
reading levels. Okay.
Instruction for all students.
So
Mhm.
that's the importance of that tier one piece, because tier one is instruction for all students. So what she's basically saying is, we're identifying gaps and making adjustments where we're seeing the deficits in instruction. But on top of that, we're putting together a strategic plan so that our assessments are actually identifying the same information. If Stephanie is a third grade teacher and I'm a third grade teacher, and we're using two different data sources, it's not showing apples to apples, right? So we're standardizing all of that and putting all of that in place, training people on how to use that data, to your point, get the PD on how to interpret the data, and then make decisions based off of that. So it is for all students. So,
Okay.
so the goal isn't just, we want to get 90% of our students. We want to get interventions to all of our students, to your point.
I just didn't understand that
Yeah,
10% gap, so maybe
Right.
those of us that don't work in education
fine.
saw that the goal was 100, but I will say it does seem a little concerning that it's such again, this could be jump in and be like, yes, I get this too, because you're not a teacher, so. It seems like it's a really long period of time before we see results, I guess, is my thought, if you're thinking that.
Oh, but we saw great
No,
results.
No, I mean this result that we're trying to get to. I mean, I think that if I had a student that was behind where we wanted them to be, it does seem like I guess, is this the fastest stage? And
So
here's-
I do want to point out that if you look at the state report cards, Red Creek performs better than New York State. And in the past, before I got here, the data that was presented would compare Red Creek to the other Wayne County schools, and Red Creek performs better than the other Wayne County schools. That's not acceptable to me. That's why I'm in the role. That's why I'm so passionate about reading. But there is no magic wand for reading. And we need to re-educate our teachers on how we teach reading. And that includes all the way down to how you teach vocabulary. Like everything we do in our classrooms, we didn't learn this in college as teachers. How to teach reading, how we're teaching reading today, the science of reading, was not taught to our teachers in college. They have had to revamp everything that they're doing. And if there was a magic program out there, if I could write a magic program, I would be a millionaire.
So what you're saying, though, is this time frame that we're looking at is reality,
Yes.
and there's nothing to do anything kind of more rapidly.
Well, we're trying to wave the magic wand. You know, that's
Yeah.
why we're getting Haggerty. That's why we're digging into this phonics stuff. We're spending more time on reading than we are on social studies and science.
So you're looking at it
You
from two
know,
different angles.
we're
You're looking at it from a systematic approach to improving instruction, right? We're gonna lift the way that we teach our students. And you're looking at it as, what's the intervention that's gonna be in place for this particular child, right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. In when you talk at the 50,000 foot, which is what she's doing right now, that's really hard to dive down into that individual kid.
No, and that's totally fine, and I guess what I was trying to say too is that I'm just trying to understand if, you know, I don't mean to speak for the rest of the board, but I think if there's more things that you need or that the teachers need in order to improve the situation at a faster rate, I think that, I'm assuming that most of us here would be in support of doing that. So that's why I was just kind of trying to understand, are we working with what we have because we have limited funding?
No, we have funding.
Okay.
We need to reteach our staff in every single thing that they're doing.
So
Okay.
I'm hearing and seeing a lot of this information that we're talking about, you know, the K-6, which I know that's where your foundations are built. One of my biggest concerns is that our maybe middle, but high school kids are kind of almost being written off, like, and I don't mean like the school's writing them off, but just in general, going, we don't have enough time to help them, to get them, because there's a lot of them that were, you know, majorly set back with COVID, just like the younger kids as well. We might have some time to get those younger kids back on track. And I see that's where we're focusing, which is great. What is it that we're looking to do to help those kids that are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, I mean, our seniors, unfortunately, I just don't know what we can do for them. But what is it that we're looking to implement at that level to help those students catch up? I had mentioned to the board, if you look at the honor roll and the principal's honor roll, whatever the three are called, if you look at 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, they're really underrepresented compared to the rest of the grades 6 through 12. And you know, that group of kids, I think, really were middle, early high school when COVID hit, and you can really see that has impacted them, and they haven't been able to bounce back.
Sure has.
So I haven't heard really a lot other than, you know, putting some extra tutoring and stuff in place. Like, this is fantastic, and I'm very excited to watch this progress. But again, do we have anything like this that we're looking at, you know, those grades that just aren't bouncing back, those kids that are not bouncing back before it is too late?
So we're adapting the Learning Center model next year in the high school so that students can pop in when they need extra help. We're, again, teaching, retraining our teachers on how you teach things like vocabulary and drill that down. You know, a lot of what's going on is social emotional work that we need to do with our students and levels of engagement. And
Do we have plans for those? Socially emotional, like, engagement that we're doing?
sure, so we have our morning circles. We're starting a lot of work on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is tied directly to social emotional learning and how we approach students in responsive classroom training to get students on board and ready to learn. These are not easy problems to solve.
No.
This is committee work. This is not Cindy Hay work.
Mm-hmm.
This is true committee strategic planning work that has to be strategic, has to be, you know, do you take time away from this is always a discussion you have at the high school level. How much time do you take away from your content, you know, to really establish and create those social emotional relationships? And we know that that's a big part of student motivation, is creating those close relationships, a feeling of belonging here at school.
Do we have plans for those? Socially emotional, like, engagement that we're doing?
Sure, so we have our morning circles. We have our it's not easy work, and
And I can have the principals come and present some of the things that they're working on individually as well.
That'd be great.
You know, we could, there's a lot of things, like Raina can dig a little bit deeper into that learning center model that she's putting in place that we're working through. There's a middle school learning center model that is slightly different than that, but that can be discussed. There's some other things that we've put in place. Go ahead, Raina. Yeah, and over the past last year and a half, I'd say, Julia, jump in if you want to add anything, that the counseling program has also taken on a little bit of a different focus as well. So they're starting to work more collaboratively district-wide. So from elementary school up through high school, we have different supports that were put in place over the course of the last couple of years. When staffing changes, those certifications tend to be challenging to rehire for. So every time a position opens up, we're reevaluating that, and then with that comes some kind of a change inevitably with new staffing, right? So we have a lot of that focus, I should say, and that's that SEL component as well. So we have a school counseling plan that we're working through there. Anything you want to add to that, Julia? So there's a lot going on, but what I'd say is it's probably easier to have that conversation with each individual administrator. So I could invite maybe Raina to the August meeting to talk a little bit about that, Mr. Van Orman to our next meeting. I forget what day we decided on here.
27th.
The 27th. And then, you know, we can go through some of those strategies. And I think there's a difference between the conversation that Cindy's having about improving your instruction systemically or systematically, whichever one you want to use, or providing that individual intervention for the kid, for individual kids. You know, I can give you an example. Matt would talk about the way that he restructured our sixth grade. You know, they'll pick up actually more instructional minutes for ELA and math next year than they actually had last year, because of the design of the schedule. So they had 40-minute blocks last year. They'll have basically 40-minute blocks. I think they pick up an extra 80 minutes or 90 minutes a week. So that's more intense tier 1 instruction than our teachers have been able to give them in the past. So those are the types of things that I'd really like them to talk about, because they can explain how it really works in their building.
Okay.
But I believe that this is Ms. Hayes' wheelhouse, though. You know, it's just my experience that we should have one universal screening and use that as a baseline. It shouldn't be given a choice. That's
right,
not
and
the-
we'll be using IXL
And-
next year,
But you
6
said
through 8.
they're also going to be given a choice, though.
If they would like to continue using FastBridge, they can use that also.
So that's not part of the science of reading. You have too many screeners. You should be using one universal screener and consider a formative assessment working letters to customize instruction and differentiate at the tier 1. And it doesn't sound like that's happening.
No, we do differentiate at tier 1 because the teachers break students into groups during classroom instruction also. And they have electronic platforms and really great reading that they work in. So they take an assessment in really great reading, and depending on where they fall, the program automatically pushes things that are specific to that student out to them. And IXL does that. We'll do that too.
I appreciate the scope of the endeavors that we're discussing right now, but could you give me a list of prioritized items that are actionable and measurable as outcomes for the end of June?
Other than what we said in the previous slide here, I'm not sure what we're looking for is individualized student performance. So we have data in Dibbles that shows each and every area in the science of reading. I don't share that with you because it's individual student data, and it shows their improvement. It's a little line chart, and it shows whether they improve or have not improved. And then the teacher disaggregates that data so that they can work on very specific things with small groups of students in their classroom.
The science of reading does not allow for a computer and only that measure to determine the student's next step.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're asking. So the science of reading is direct, explicit instruction around the components of reading. So we have programs that are doing that, such as our phonemic awareness program being Haggerty, our phonics program being Really Great Reading. We still have our comprehension piece in our wonders that we use, which is readings that the teacher reads aloud, that the students read together. We have decodable readers, we have stories. Again, Dibbles drills down exactly the deficits that our students have. If we need to, we also give them a past assessment, which is a further drill down of any deficits, or I'd also like to talk about the strengths that they have.
But your teachers are getting trained via a static video of a prior training on IXL.
Well, they're getting trained on how to use IXL as an instructional tool. And they're getting they received letters training, which is all about how you teach reading using the science of reading.
So maybe what we need to do is have, instead of just a back and forth conversation, maybe we need to have a more generic conversation as a group instead of you just answering standing up here. Because some of the stuff that you're saying, Nancy, too, I'm not super familiar with. I don't know if everybody else here.
No, it's certainly not 30,000-foot view level.
Well, I
Right,
just think
right.
that I can't even determine that because I don't really know what.
Because it's not a 30,000-foot view level.
I might even be at 50 tonight because I asked for 100% grade level reading too. So, so I'm just wondering if maybe we could have more of a discussion outside of this specific presentation, and maybe we can all get on the same page. Because I know that I'm not familiar with everything that you're discussing.
I would appreciate that.
I just need I need a little background, I guess, for the teachers. You're probably moving right along with this, but I don't necessarily know, and I'm sorry that I don't. Would you be willing to educate us too?
No, I would love as a board to be able to get behind the science of reading, but I think that we need your outside expert to come in to describe what the concept of the science of reading is, and not the science of reading as a platform for the best practices.
Okay, I can give you an article on the science of reading. I can give you the same educational tools that we gave to our teachers. The science of reading is explicit, direct instruction around the components of reading.
I think so, but I just got another one, so I don't know.
You know, I just thinking from what we've been through and gone through, and the information, everything from when you got here and got started up until March of 20, all the platform that was being placed, and then the rug got pulled out for everybody.
Sure did.
You know, and you still strived in the absence of normalcy, if we will, to gain some to get some of these things in place and operable, because simultaneously the staff had to rethink their whole design of presentation.
They sure did.
Had to change. And I think you hit on something I was going to ask. I don't know who referred to it, but it sounds like in secondary education, they're not coming out with a familiarity that might be nice when they come out of school and ready for a job, a familiarity to some of these, more familiarity to some of this, which is unfortunate, but we also know that secondary education tends to follow behind
Correct.
as opposed to lead on many directions. So, and looking at the numbers of improvement that still has occurred, I commend the staff of what they've done to try to, through these trying times. Because your presentation, if your normal plan had followed and we hadn't had the interruption, we would be having a far different discussion here
Right.
in so many ways. And I think we have to understand that and respect that and appreciate that for all the people that are involved with what they're trying to do and what they've been doing. So, all efforts are there. It seemed fully intentioned. All hands are on board with moving forward. And, reteaching teachers, particularly if they've been in it for a number of years, that's part of the change that needs to take some time to bring them to speed on strategies that may have been working for them or seem to be their familiarity. All of them would, if they're reflective in themselves, would agree to that and would know that that's difficult sometimes. So, I don't know that I have to understand all the aspects of every one of these programs. I can understand the intent that's behind and what's being put in place. And so, thank you.
So I'm thinking too that maybe this is something, instead of once a year that we're looking at this, maybe this is something that we can revisit, and just see where we're growing, if it's working, if you see continual growth, if it's not, I think sometimes with presentations, we just get like a once a year thing, and that's to no detriment to anybody, but there's just a lot going on. Maybe this is something that we want to look at more regularly. Not maybe every meeting, but if we set up a time frame
So-
that
Well,
we can
maybe
support.
I think
after benchmarks.
I
So-
think that Brad and Brian and Kate, you were here prior. I report regularly on literacy in my board update, and I share the data 3 times a year in my board updates.
Well, and maybe it's just more room for conversation. I know that a lot of times, you guys submit your reports and there isn't a ton of discussion about it. So maybe we need to, not necessarily this type of presentation, but we need to have a discussion as a board and how we need to support that at this level and make sure that, we're being involved and understanding the data and not just kind of glossing over it because it's a report at the end of the packet.
Stephanie, you had something you were starting to say.
I was just going to say, if we wanted to look at this more often, I don't think it's going to be effective for us to look at it on a monthly basis.
Right.
Correct.
If you're looking at benchmark data, we don't even really need to see it. I mean, we could see it in the fall, but in theory, if your winter benchmark is January, say, look at it in February, see where the growth has been from September to January. Look at it again this time of year where we can see, was there more growth from January to May or, overall as a whole. But I think it's important to know that if a student comes into, say, 3rd grade, 2 grade levels behind in reading, that 3rd grade teacher is not only trying to move them, the 1 grade level up, but they have multiple grade levels to push them. It's not an overnight thing, and it's not a 1 month thing. It's everybody on board from pre-K to 6 with that intensive instruction.
So maybe that's a good plan, is to have, more discussion based around those benchmarks, dates, or timeframes.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think if we looked at it every month, it's not gonna benefit us, but if we looked at it after benchmark, that would probably make more sense, if that's what we wanted to see.
I agree. Kate, is your mic working?
I don't know. Eric's probably laughing at me because he,
You just gave the thumbs
can you
up.
hear me?
Just
Oh, I
needs-
heard your hand touch it.
I thought the other one was working too. I'm sorry.
You mean you just pull the, pull the stand in
Any other
closer.
questions?
It's gonna fall off, Brad. You're gonna laugh.
Good
Thank
job.
you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
job.
Cindy.
You did, Kira. Did you have anything else to? Okay, we'll move on to E, new business. One certified staff, I'm gonna just work off of past experience that somebody's gonna pull something from this group, so can I have a motion for something on here? And I'll read what's on there.
Motion to pull A.
Or you could go with A, and we could
Good.
do that one first.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Motion A,
Okay, so-
1A, right?
Okay, so,
I will second.
thank you. So it's a motion by Mrs. Allen and a second by Mr. Nodine
Sorry.
for 1A, the resignation, retirement of elementary teacher Sandra Grab. We're just all voting no, so you can just put that down
Yeah,
now.
can we just say no?
Yeah, that's what my mic's on now, so it works.
So I spoke with Mr. Taylor, and he wasn't able to be here this evening, so I asked him to put a little bit together just to share with you. So this is Mr. Taylor's words. Sandy Grab has been a phenomenal asset to the Kyler Elementary School for the past 32 years. With the most of her career being kindergarten, Sandy has always focused on students and making sure their needs were constantly met. A few recent examples of her dedication to students include Sandy having summertime lunch at the Hardware Cafe in Fairhaven with an incoming student and a student who had just moved into first grade. The trio were enjoying their lunch together courtesy of Mrs. Grab, who was helping a new student prepare for her upcoming kindergarten year. Another example of Sandy extending her dedication to the student was when she would phone or FaceTime with them at their house to help them fall asleep at night. So also, she also used her personal days to help students' family in a time of need. Sandy was honored at the Moving Up Day ceremony, and it was fitting that she was sitting on stage being honored. One of her current students curled up and sat by her side. That sums up Sandy perfectly. She's always has a kid by her side. Sandy will be greatly missed at Kyler Elementary School. So just on behalf of the district, you know, I've had a little bit of time to spend with Sandy, and, you know, everything that Mr. Taylor expressed here is absolutely, says Sandy. She is very dedicated. She really cares about her kids. Myself and Mrs. Herbst personally had seen Sandy in action a couple times with a very challenging student in the district, and she just was pretty much the only one who could really resolve that issue. She just has a way with her students, and we're really sad to see her go. Happy for her, and hope that she enjoys many, many years of retirement, and maybe she'll come back and sub for us. I'll just put that plug in there.
Hopefully she's watching then.
So thank you, Sandy.
Mr. Taylor
Any-
has a way with words.
I'm assuming there's no questions. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Just put a little frown face next to that one. Okay. All right, moving on. Can I have a motion for some combination or all of E1B through I?
Yes. I'll give you a motion B through I, please.
I would ask that it be B through G.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
I would ask that it be B through G.
B through G. Okay, would you include I in that? Are you looking to pull H?
H, yes. Sorry, that was.
Okay, Could we amend the motion, Mr. Dates, for B through G and I?
Well, I mean,
Well, F is also part of that.
okay,
F and H are part of.
Okay.
so,
So I think there was some questions, and it was presented that that should be discussed in executive session. So,
I guess, sounds like, I mean, because I made a motion, so I'm hearing other parts, but I'll throw out the thought, I mean, is it the will of the board to take, what the first one I heard was H out, is it the will of the board to take H out?
I believe that there's a repetition, if I can use that word, between F and H. So I think there were some questions that couldn't be answered, if I'm correct. I mean, I
Is
think,
somebody saying that they have questions about F or G?
I think that there was F and H, that there was an email, and the superintendent had directed the board member that it would need to be discussed in executive session.
So we
Which-
need to pull F and H?
Well, we need to,
I
Is
think
that what we're
I think the
motioning?
motion is on the table for B through I.
Yeah.
Somebody
Right.
suggested removing, the board has to decide if they're
yeah, I'm trying to do that now, so.
sorry.
No, that's totally fine, but so, right now, the motion on the floor includes everything on the list.
Right.
There were questions about, in reference to E1, F and E1H.
Can we have a motion for B through E?
So either Mr. Dates, Mr. Dates needs to amend his motion, or we need to vote it down and start again, if that's what we want to do.
Well, question, was there even a second to my motion?
Mrs. Allen seconded.
Okay, I missed it.
Yeah,
Thank
no, that's
you.
fine.
So, I guess I will throw my question back out, because we kind of learned this.
Right, I'm
Is
just
it-
asking, if you say no, that's fine. If
Yeah.
it votes down, we'll ask for another motion.
Yeah, so I guess I will hold with my motion, and then, is it?
Mrs. Allen, are you willing to second it as is?
I'm willing to hold, I suppose, at this moment.
Yeah.
So I
So-
guess we will vote it down and start over.
If that's what
If it gets
the
voted down.
board wants to do, then when we call for a vote, you need to vote no, and we'll have another, if you're not concerned about discussing, I'm gonna get my letters messed up, E1, F, and H in executive session, then you would vote as normal. It is not, it is B through I.
B through I.
Motion for B through I and a second for B through I.
Does everybody understand? I don't know if I'm supposed to read everything now or wait. Okay, are there any other questions regarding non-executive session matter? Okay. Okay, so the motion is E1, B through I. You're either voting yes to approve or no, and then we will make a new motion. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. I need a new motion, preferably something that we will pass.
Okay, a new motion, B through F, or B, excuse me, B through E.
I'll take that, Mr. Dates.
Second.
and-
Thank you,
and-
Mrs. Bliss.
And include G and I.
Second.
Thank you. So B through E, G,
G and I.
no, G and I. Okay. So this is, correct. So this is the resignation of the elementary guidance counselor Amanda R. Wilkinson, resignation of music teacher Joseph W. Benedict, the appointment of the 21st Century Grant Program position summer program, the appointment of substitute teacher Leanne Andrews, the appointment of Red Creek Summer School staff middle school, and the appointment of Spanish teacher Elise Mazurka.
Close.
Was it close? Okay. I think that was great. Any questions on any of these? I will say I'm sorry to see people going, especially from the music department. It seems like there's a lot of turnover.
I agree.
It's very disappointing.
Anybody got any questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Yes. Thank you. Again, I'm assuming that F and H were to be pulled for executive, so I would need a motion for that, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Bliss. So that's E1F, appointment of additional Red Creek Summer School staff, grades K through 6, and H, appointment of High School Learning Center Virginia I. Slobe. Have a second?
Nancy, did it your second?
Okay.
I did.
Yeah. Jolene? I believe that's all we need for a, correct? Is a motion and a second to move? Okay. Okay, we're gonna keep moving then. Thank you. Just pulled for executive session. I don't know if that's how you write it down or not. Yeah, okay. Okay, moving on, E2 classified staff.
Make a motion?
Yeah, just tell me which, all, some?
A, B, and C.
Okay, so I have a motion for E2, A, B, and C.
A
Mrs.
second.
Dingman? Mrs. Allen beat you to it, but good try.
She's quick.
Mrs. Allen's a second. So this is classified staff, appointment of the substitute cleaner and substitute food service helper Jennifer L. Rose, appointment of substitute cleaner Maggie M. Rose, and appointment of substitute senior clerk typist Christine D. Tuttle. Questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. E3, the CSE recommendations and the CPSE recommendations. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you, Mrs. Dingman. A second by Mrs. Bliss. Questions?
Did you say Jolene?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7-0. You're up.
Okay, so I just have a couple updates. First, I just wanted to say the new district website launched on July 1st. We're continuing to make some additions and some alterations to the site. There's some things that we still have to roll over from our previous site into our new site, but it is up and running. Looks pretty good, and you know, it is a nice addition to see. Operation Graduation went very well, graduation night. We had over 25 students in attendance. I think it was 29. Was it 26 total? So 26 students. The students appeared to have a really good time. Events included swimming, kayaking races. They played a lot of games, some basketball games, and they had some bounce house type activities as well. They had just a special thank you out to Mr. Curtis for staying there the entire time. So he left at 5:30 the next morning. So that's a pretty long night. He did a great job really interacting with our students, and he was really the prize guy. Yeah, so he was kind of the MC for the event. So just a lot of thank you to him for supporting. And also just a special thank you going out to the local businesses who sponsored the event and for donating to the event. We had a really, really nice selection of prizes, from TVs to beanbag chairs to Apple TVs, all kinds of things. So it was a really nice event. And I think every student went home with at least one prize and maybe more, right? So some of them kind of cleaned up, actually. The community center pool right now needs a pipe repair, so that is down. It broke over the weekend, was assessed today. The work is scheduled to take place early next week, so the pool will be closed until the repair is made. So we will actually make some adjustments to our swim programs and lessons to accommodate the missed time with the repair. So that'll stretch out into August. Mr. Welcher has been communicating that out through the community center. Capital outlay project is closed out, so the project included the external masonry work. The final cost reports were filed with SED, so we're moving forward with that. We have scheduled a blacktop seal coat in our parking lots, so that will be very helpful. We have a lot of areas that need some pretty extensive work. Those will not be included in that area because that will be rolled into another capital project as we move forward. But I'd say it's probably about 85% of the parking lot will be seal coated in August. So we're looking forward to moving forward with that. Summer school. So we have a summer school learning program which has 97 students in grades K through 6 enrolled, which is a really, really nice number. We have 83 of these students are also joining the 21st Century Grant Program in the afternoon. So out of the 97 students, 83 of them are staying for the full day, which is a really, really nice extension to that program. The 21st Century Grant is running its swim, gym, and STEM program again this summer. Full day program. It has 60 kids enrolled, so that's a nice group of students as well. All students in the 21st Century program run through rotations of swimming, STEM, crafts, reading, robotics, recreation. They have a free breakfast and lunch is provided for all of the students who attend. 21st Century Grant is also running afternoon programming for 15th, 7th, and 8th grade summer school students. The middle school students have a separate schedule from the K through 6 students. And while on campus, these students will get indoor and outdoor recreation along with swimming. So the 7th and 8th grade students also have trips. So I believe today they went to bowling. They will be kayaking and hiking as well. So they have a pretty unique opportunity this year. The middle school program is hosting over 25 students in grades 7 through 8 for summer school. The focus is on ELA and math, but has components of all content areas with cross-curricular approach. And more of a project-based learning concept to it as well. Our 9th through 12th grade summer school program has over 58 students attending. So the focus of the program really depends on what the students' needs were. So at traditional high school, a kid fails ELA, they go for ELA, or they need some extra prep for a Regents exam, they attend those programs. So about 58 students in that program. It is located in SOTUS this year in collaboration with Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES. If you remember, we had intended on housing that program here in collaboration with Clyde Savannah, and we were just having challenges finding staff to accommodate that, so we made that shift and collaborated with SOTUS. We have letters training for teachers as part of the literacy improvement focus, as Cindy mentioned earlier, that has already taken place this summer. So we have a significant amount of our teachers were already trained in the first week of school on letters. So that's a nice addition. And then moving forward with our ADA compliance playground for the Kyler building, we anticipate completion sometime in October, I believe. Is that where we are most recently, Cindy? So that's a playground that's pulled out of some of our grant funding to meet the ADA compliance piece that we're not able to meet right now. And then we have several open positions in the district which we have posted for on OLAS, some of them in the newspaper, and also on our school website. And we anticipate having recommendations for a few more
positions at our next board meeting. I just wasn't sure when our next board meeting was going to be. So now that we have that established, we'll be making some recommendations for that. And that's what I have for updates.
Stingman?
Sure.
Who is in charge of the website with the design? Is that BOCES or is that an in-house?
So it's Chris Casavaca is our communication specialist. He works for BOCES, yes. We actually purchase a platform, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. Anybody got it off the top of their head? I can email it.
I just didn't know who, I understand that we purchased
The actual platform behind it.
but then who actually put it together? Was it BOCES or was it somebody here?
So a BOCES employee who's located here, yes. Yep.
And then you had mentioned that board docs, that was something that you guys purchased. I think you mentioned that.
Yep.
May or June. Do you know when that rollout is supposed to be?
Do you know? I know we're still working through the sales rep on that and trying to get the
So it
rollout.
hasn't been purchased yet through, you don't,
I'm not 100% sure if it was. Eric's coming down. I know Eric's working on it with the rep.
okay. I had a third, but I'm sorry, I didn't write it down quick enough.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Robbins. Would you like to update us on that?
Board docs indicate we do have a purchase agreement through Erie One BOCES. We have sent the information as far as who the site administrators are going to be. We're working on scheduling to get Cissy Whitington, who manages the board agendas, and she will be the one who's updating all that information. As far as the training, we don't have a training date at this point to get her trained, but we do have everything signed and in place. We're just waiting for getting some scheduling.
Waiting on the organization or waiting on us at this point?
I sent the information as far as who the accounts were going to be, as far as
Gotcha.
implementation managers and who needs the accounts. We haven't gotten anything back from board docs to have the accounts set up yet.
Great. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay. And I remembered my third question. So you said that there's going to be some hires. Are you considering doing anything with sixth grade, or are you still going to make it down to 2 sections?
2 sections.
That's disappointing. Just
It's fiscally responsible.
I'll disagree. We're talking about kids and doing what's best for them.
There's 41 students enrolled currently in 6th grade.
We're going to agree to disagree.
I don't have to agree to that.
Okay, does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about a few things that we talked about at our board retreat, just to kind of set for maybe for going forward. So we talked about maybe doing a workshop. I don't know if that was the right terminology, but in August to maybe set a schedule for some topics that we wanted to incorporate into some future meetings in the fall. I'm not suggesting we need to land on a date right now, but maybe we can think about that.
Okay.
And then also maybe switching to do the roll call for the voting. So these are just things that that I noted from the retreat that we might want to implement going forward. And if we need to have a
Yeah.
separate discussion, we can do that.
I don't think you were there at that point. So, the conversation went from procedurally, what is the cleanest? And, the confusion between do we do a roll call or do we not? And then the conversation from our facilitator, he said, it might be easier if you just do roll call for everything. And then
So was there a reason that it changed at 3 years ago? Do you know? Was it just to save time, or? 'Cause it was done as a roll call for every
you
vote
can
prior
still
to
do
that.
consent agenda through roll call. So I don't know, because I don't think you ever had roll call for everything. I think it kind of went back and forth between both, but I don't know that.
It was, as far as I remember, it was only for CSE and CPSE recommendations. So everything else was a roll call.
Okay.
But I don't know why we did it that way. And Mrs. Allen had asked me about that prior to this conversation, and I can look into that and see if there's some reason that we do it one way or the other, but, I would have to say, I think maybe it would be easier for Mr. McDonald to hear or see what's going on if we did it individually, or, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was the conversation.
The idea
that we had
behind
in the
it?
room. Yeah,
Okay.
that It just might be easier to say.
I can-
Kate Madigan, yay.
Right.
Kim Allen, nay.
It
Yep.
comes out clean.
Yeah. Yep.
It's clear.
I don't think there's any issue in switching back to it if we all want to do
No.
that.
And
I'm
I
fine with
apologize
that.
for talking to you like you knew what I was
Yeah.
talking about, so I'm sorry.
No, that's totally
So we want
fine.
to put that on the agenda for the next meeting to vote and say that's how we want to do it?
I don't think it,
No,
I
I
mean, I
think
can
it's
check, I don't
just-
think
Or
it,
can we
re-
just
yeah, I
change
don't
that
think it
procedure?
requires a vote, but,
Is
would
everyone
everybody
good?
be okay with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Probably as long as we do, like, at times, just like we did tonight, consent issues, you know.
What do you mean?
You know, like the A through
Groups.
E.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
think
yeah,
that that's
yeah.
still, but maybe it would be a
Yeah.
little easier to, keep track of and hear and, so, okay. So we can, let's make that change then for next meeting unless anyone objects.
One of the other things, I think, it's time for our own board goal reviews, right?
It
to-
is.
Just to review, certainly bring new persons familiar with where our goals, the goals that have been established. And,
You mean part of the workshop?
yeah, part of a workshop, you know, or that could just be within a board meeting.
Yep.
Too.
Okay.
Another thing that was mentioned during the retreat was executive session items being listed on the
Yes.
agenda.
Yes.
So I think that that would be a great thing to add to our agendas.
You mean reasons to move
mean
into
the
executive
Yes.
8
session?
reasons or
Yeah,
Yeah.
the,
The-
however many
the
reasons.
Does anybody have
the
those, or
8
do you want-
possible
Yeah, the
reasons.
8 possible reasons.
Summary.
You have them?
I can-
Oh, no, I mean, I can too. I'm just, did he give them to
He
you?
did not.
No,
No,
no.
he
Okay.
did not.
He didn't have the list either. No.
Okay. Okay. And list that on the agenda?
Yeah, so basically what he was saying is listed on the agenda and so for example, like I'm going to say we need to go in for negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just tick off negotiations.
Oh, so your reasoning at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That way everybody understands
Personnel.
the
No, I
real
think that's a
reasons
great
we
idea.
can, and then
Yeah.
it helps with the guidelines.
And I think the last thing that I had was for us just to review the opening statement before each meeting starts. So I
Okay.
think we went back and forth about the president or the board clerk doing that, so whatever we land on,
Okay.
regardless of who does it.
For community.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Yeah, no, the only thing I would say about an August workshop, and I'm gonna assume that Mr. Dates is gonna agree with me, if it's something that's gonna be facilitated by NISBA, if we wait until the 27th to come up with dates, or do you mean just internally?
I don't, it was just internally, unless
Oh,
I'm
okay.
misunderstanding, I don't think it was with a NISBA facilitator, it was just for us to internally set a couple goals or a couple ideas or what we want to see for the upcoming fall meetings.
Okay,
What kind of presentations we want, what do we want to accomplish?
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, that way.
They did extend that as well if we wanted to.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they're always
Okay.
available, but of course you gotta book it.
Anything else? Okay, then I will take a motion to move into executive for particular personnel matter related to employment and negotiations.
Personnel and negotiations, yes.
Take a motion, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Bliss, and a second by Mrs. Allen. Okay, thank you.
My computer was a little slow for a while.
Is it?
It was for a while, then it picked up.
Turn this back
Thank you,
up.
Mrs.